Hey, here we go.
Hello, governor.
Hey, what is going down with you, champion, man? Happy early
What's
Friday morning to you, my guy.
happy early Friday, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, happy Black Friday for all the people who couldn't wait to spend their hard-earned money on a day like today.
Oh yeah, Black Friday. Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Are you were you ever a Black Friday person? Did you ever used to hang out
I
behind
was
in the stores?
never a big Black Friday person. However, I have had a few adventures out here in these streets back in the pre-COVID era, back in where people would wait in line and beat the
Yeah.
hell out of each other for a waffle iron, so yeah, I've had a few times at like Best Buy or somewhere hanging around, trying to get that big screen TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
There will never be a line outside of Barnes and Nobles, though, do they?
No, ain't nobody really breaking their niggas to get that first edition, right? Like,
Yeah, gotta have the book.
oh man. So, man, what's on deck for this morning?
Man, for everyone who does not know, it did drop yesterday in reactions, and it'll be in the description. Um, Doctor Who, season 7, episode 5, Angels Take Manhattan.
Mm,
The reaction did drop yesterday, and I didn't drop a deep dive because I wanted us to talk about it live. This is it's such an important and pivotal episode that it was going to take more than me to just talk about this.
okay.
And I call this particular live deep dive "End of the Road." Is a heartfelt farewell to the Ponds, or better known as Amy and Rory Williams. And we need to talk about this because I feel like sometimes farewells don't get their just due. Like
Mm,
sometimes, and most of the time you think about relationships, but not only relationships, but job
yeah.
situations.
Yeah.
Sometimes you couldn't wait to go. You're like, I
Mhm.
can't wait. You know what I'm saying? F you, you're cool. F you, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, I don't really want to go, but whatever your higher power, God, intuition, the universe, sometimes it's like, it's time for me to go. So
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I hear that. And what you said, money talks, BS walks.
this all
As
day,
long
all day.
as long as you fulfilled a lot of your responsibilities, I don't feel bad at some goodbyes. And I think that a lot of that is stemming from that. Other actors had other things they got to do. But let me not get ahead of myself. So man, where we gonna start
Well,
off with this bad boy?
let's do a real quick recap because I know that time is money, and I want to be respectful of your time and the other guests. We have a Frank
Hmm.
waiting to jump in on this deep dive with us, but then I just want us to go through the comments and talk about this particular episode
Okay.
and talk about when time is up, because sometimes we are extremely resistant to change.
Yeah.
Um, I will start with just saying I I've had I don't want to talk about the relationship part of it, so I'm going to talk about the job part of it. So I've
Okay.
had two times where I really made a stern decision to leave. And one, I fresh out of college, I had my degree. I was working as an accountant. I had my first big time job as an accountant, and I was working on my master's degree at the time, and I was in charge of the accounts payables department. I had 80 people that worked for me, 80 women. I was the only man in the entire department.
Okay.
Um, and then I was the only person of color in the
Okay.
department. And everyone that worked for me had to be, if I was early 20s, they had to be 30 plus, everyone. So when I walked in the office every day, no one spoke to me.
Mm.
I walk in the office, they be having a conversation. I'd be like, good morning, ladies. And all conversations ceased, just quit. And they just look at me like, and they had a certain kind of resentment towards me because I definitely didn't have the experience. I had the degree, I didn't have the experience. Um, and I'm extremely adept at numbers or
Okay.
whatever. So yeah, and I was the age of most of their kids. So
So there's a lot of
so there's
factors in
like,
this.
yeah, they don't want to take, I was a man, a person of color,
Mhm.
and I was the age of their children. They wouldn't listen to me. So I go and sit in my office, and it was that job was stressful. I was lonely. I end up leaving. I kept having stomach problems, health problems,
Mm.
young 20s. And I
Yeah.
was like, what is going on? I'm going into the job every day. I was physically ill. And I
Mm.
went to the doctor and I found out I had 2 bleeding ulcers from stress.
Mm.
And anyone who knows me is I am a low stress person.
Mm.
I was very much not quite laissez-faire, but very much a kind of go with the flow. I'm a California dude through and through. Uh, and I was just like, I can't do this. And so I went. I was for a young man. I was making a stupid amount of money. I was 6 figures,
Mm.
young man,
Mm.
and I went in there and put in my 2 week notice. I was like, I can't do this. My health is wealth. Y'all are
Yes.
killing me.
Mhm.
I was miserable. I was lonely at a job. To talk to someone during the day, during my day, I didn't talk to anyone outside of clients.
Mhm.
I had to go to the mailroom to talk to people.
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, what's up, man? You watched the game last night?" Ah, yeah. And I just like, I can't do this. This can't not be what I fill my day with. I can't.
Right.
And I quit and just on. I was just like, listen, I'm go by faith. And I had another job before my 2 weeks was even out. I quit with no job prospects in sight. I
Yeah, well, I
didn't
have done
care.
that.
I know.
I've done
Yeah,
that
that's
before.
one of those
Yeah.
things your parents
Yeah.
tell you don't never do that. But I was
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
didn't care. I was like, this is killing me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I tell you that 2 weeks after I put in my notice, listen, I damn near danced in the work every day. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm out here. And it felt so it was a burden. And then I went into teaching, which my salary dropped precipitously. Like,
Okay.
but man, I got into teaching, man, and loved it, and ended up staying in teaching for damn near 20 years, man. It's just
Yeah.
one of those things. It was not what I meant to do with my life, but it was a happy accident, you know. And then I had to walk away from teaching in 2018, and haven't looked back since. So,
I'm not mad. You spend a very large amount of time, at work, 8 hours, a third of your day typically is spent at a job. Uh, another 8 hours is typically spent sleeping. So you've got like another 8 hours of like peacetime for the most part, typically. And
mhm,
most of that is filled with, trying to get the day right, trying to get the house in order, all that other stuff. So if you take a big chunk of your time that's spent in torment, it really does make you rethink, how much is the money really worth. So there are times where you kind of got to walk away. Like you said, your health is wealth, and eventually that job will end up killing you. Like it'll bleed the good pieces away from you, your peace of mind. It'll make you more irritable when you're at home. So I totally understand it, man. Like I get it. Sometimes, you said you were making like a decent, good fair shake of money for the time period. And that probably is one of the reasons why that price tag was so high. I was thinking about one of the most stressful jobs on the planet is being air traffic control, you
mhm.
know. But it pays, a dumb amount
Oh
of
yeah.
money. But it's because, they say like for every year of your life that you spend as an air traffic controller, it is almost like one for one of a year being taken off your end game, your life. It's like a one for every hour you spend is an hour you lose from your life because
And I
because the
could
stress
see
is
that.
so high.
I
But
could see that as a high stress. I almost got into that game when I was young, looking for something else to do with my life. And
yeah,
but then when I read up on it, I was like, oh no, this ain't for me because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
other people's lives. That's not no job where you can kind of half-ass. You got to be all the way. You got to be on top of your game, 100%, A plus every day, all
yeah.
day, and just
And
no.
every waking moment is somebody's life in your hands. Like by
Yeah.
by seconds, you're lining all of these planes in by seconds at a time. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like, is that for everybody? No, 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 probably not. But I guess to kind of like, I'm sure like some people walking in here are like, what are we talking about regarding this? And with with Doctor Who, and excuse me if and correct me if I'm wrong. One of the reasons why it is presumed that the actors may have left the shows because they had other things they had to do. They had to leave. You had to kind of like know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and you brought in an
Well,
example of when you kind of like tapped out with your job and was like, I got something else I got to do. It's
yeah.
called
Well,
living a good life.
yeah, let's go through the quick recap of the
Go for it.
this particular episode. And then we'll move from there.
Okay.
So we see the episode starts up. We see Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, Amy, Rory. They're chilling in Central Park, and this is one of those episodes that they actually were on location. Actually, Stephen Moffat, when he wrote this story, he was in New York at the time when he came up with this. And then we'll get at the end of this, we'll get to why he wrote this particular story. And he had a lot of pressure to write this story. The doctor's reading a novel about a 1930s detective named Melody Malone. Rory goes to get a cup of coffee, and on his way back, he went to go get him and Amy some coffee. On his way back, if anybody has ever been in Central Park in New York City, there's so much happening. Central Park is huge.
Yeah.
There's one particular part where there is a I don't want to say it's like a tunnel. It's like a overpass. There's like a walkway over top, and then underneath it is another overpass. But it's usually pretty dark in there. But it's tiled. It's a beautiful place. And I actually went the last time I was there. They had orchestral students, like like a 5-piece ensemble in there playing orchestra music. It was beautiful. But Rory's walking through there. It's dark. And we see there's a statue behind him. It's a large statue with a bunch of little babies around the statue. He hears this little giggling. He looks back. One of the little baby statues is gone. Next thing we know, Amy is reading, and stuff in the book starts being about Rory. What?
Yeah.
Amy, Rory, one of those. Now, so we've been with the weeping angels before.
Yeah.
Now the weeping angels, I already ever since Blink, I've had this thing every time I see a statue. It doesn't matter where it's at, the museum. Every time I see a statue, I almost don't want to look at it. But you know what I'm saying? I keep my eyes on it. You know what I'm saying? I've had that for every statue from here on out.
Yeah.
Now the little babies on the statues are weeping angels.
Yeah.
Oh, stop. So when Rory goes back to 1938, the Doctor and Amy figure out he goes back to 1938. They try to take the TARDIS back to 1938, but there's some sort of super psychokinetic energy or something that's keeping the TARDIS
stuff.
out. Yeah, some that stuff. Yeah, keeping the TARDIS out.
Right.
There's a guy who named Grail who is he's collecting weeping angels, which seems like the worst and dumbest idea that I've ever heard. Yeah. He knows that there's something more going on about it, and he's got one in his living room. He's got it behind some French doors.
Yeah.
And we later learn, the Doctor says that this one is extremely weak, so it can't knock you back to the past or whatever, like most of them. I guess it hasn't been able to feed off of time energy or whatever. It's weak.
Right.
So they keep River because they know she got something going on with her, but they lock Rory in the basement.
Like Black Snake Moan or something.
Yeah, they lock him in the basement, and there's a big black dude that drops him in the basement. He's like, yeah, this is the worst. He's like, good luck to you. And he gives him a pack of matches or something.
Yeah.
Problem is, there's a whole bunch of them little baby angels statues in the basement, a whole gang of them. And he keeps lighting the matches, and they keep showing up. They keep running up on him. And before you know it, of course, Rory gone.
Yeah.
the guy is trying to interrogate River.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow he turns the lights off for a second. He turns them off, turns them back on. The angel has grabbed uh, River's wrist.
Yeah.
So now she's trapped. Now, so of course, by touching her, didn't send her back to the past
Mm-hmm.
because it was extremely weak. Anyway, all that to say, the doctor and Amy, they show up.
Okay.
They River is able to help the TARDIS get there and break through the timey-wimey
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Uh Now Rory had disappeared again, but Rory's like down the street or at another apartment building somewhere close by.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that this apartment building is the angels are using it as a battery, and they are luring people there, and people come into the building and are basically unable to escape, and they grow old there, and the angels are using the time energy or something to feed off of this place like a battery.
Yes.
So uh, Rory ends up running into himself in a bed as an old man. Um, and Rory watches himself die as an old man in this room. And I think one of the things that was really interesting about this episode is they said, how do we know that this is what it is? And the doctor says something to him. He said, because you know that this is real or whatever, because he died without ever having seen Amy's face again.
Mm.
And it's like, oh, okay. Um, Rory and Amy. So once Amy shows up, they's like, "No, we not going out like that." Like,
Mm.
and the doctor explains that time is always in flux. So we learned before that there were fixed points in time and things that had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And but because you're playing with time, it almost seems like any show that we watch about time kind of rewrites the rules as they do it. So they
Right.
kind of. So they said, time is always in flux. Things can be rewritten. So Amy and Rory, they got angels chasing them. They go up to the roof, and he's like, "Okay, if I was supposed to die in that bed without ever having seen you again, what if I just jump off this building?
Mm.
Because if I die by jumping off this building, then I can't die in that room. It creates a paradox in time." And Amy's like, so he's like, "I'm about to jump off," and she's like, "Boy, that's not how we do things." So she's like, "You jump, I jump," which to me is one of the greatest and most enduring quality about the Ponds, nay, the Williams, that there is. That if there's ever been a ride or die couple,
Yeah.
it is them. Just dude, the Centurion, 2,000 years.
Yep.
Well, if there's ever been a ride or die couple, it definitely is the Rory part of Amy and Rory. I mean, Amy gets credit, but I mean, she
I'm
went
glad you cleared that up.
36, she went 36,
Yeah.
37 years, and I already called it quits. He went
You went
2,000.
two stacks. Yeah.
2,000. Yeah, so
Dragging her too. Like let's like of hard labor intensive type watching.
Dragging the box. Yes. So, but such is woman. All right.
Oh.
So they jump off the roof together. It does create the time paradox, which ends up landing them right back where the TARDIS had parked initially, which was in a graveyard right outside of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, as they're walking towards the TARDIS, so you have the Doctor, River, Amy, and Rory. They all walk towards the TARDIS, and Rory gets distracted. He stops and looks. He's like, "Wait a minute. This gravestone right here has my name on it." And as he's looking, he disappears.
Got him.
And behind him is the angel. Is an angel that somehow escaped the paradox
Mm-hmm.
and was in that graveyard, got Rory. At this point, we like, wait, we just did this. And Amy's like, let's take the TARDIS, let's go back and get him. The thing is, we just created a paradox. We can't. And it's at this point that Amy and the doctor look at each other, and you already know. She's like, there's room on that tombstone.
Yeah.
And at that point, I mean, as much as the doctor loved him some Rory, Amy is his girl. Like, wait, no, you can't do this to me. Not only that, is she's also his mother-in-law. These are his parents-in-law.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and she doesn't even know, like, when the angel, because I remember the first time we saw the angels in Blink, they touched a couple different people who were not linked to each other, but they ended up in two completely different places in time.
Mm.
She has no idea if she's even going to be with Rory wherever Rory went back in time. But she's like, this is her best shot at it. So
No.
she goes and lets the angel touch her. She disappears, and her name pops up on the gravestone underneath his, which implies that they were together.
Yeah.
The doctor, knows what's happening. He's busted up. And he turns to River, and he's like, well, we've been doing this little dance for a while now. I mean, we are married. Why don't you roll with me? You know what I'm saying? Like, why don't you be my companion? Why don't you let's do this together? And she's like, oh, sweetie. She says she can't. She said, but she thinks that he should, whatever he does, he should not travel alone.
No.
Um,
And she's right. She's absolutely right in that.
yeah. So,
yeah.
She said, she knows that, what she said didn't really mount to a hill of beans with him. So she said she's going to tell, because Melody Malone, actually, when they went back to 1938, Melody Malone was her. Melody Pond, of course. Melody Malone was River. So she said in her book, and actually, Melody Malone, the character, was her, but it was written, the book, if you go back and look, the book was written by Amy Williams. So Amy, she said she was going to tell Amy to write a afterword in the novel for the doctor. So the doctor, he always tore out the last page of a book. So when they were having a picnic in Central Park, he always tore out the last page because he never wanted the book to end. So he never read the last page of the story. So he ran back to, which, it's Central Park, New York. Amazing. His stuff is still there. That's funny how that works.
That's fun thing about having a time machine, though.
Yeah. So he went back to the picnic basket and got the book out, got where he had torn the last page out. And it was an afterword that Amy had written for him. And again, she bid him farewell and said that he, under no circumstances, should travel alone. Right. After the final request from Amy, he did kind of a weird thing. He showed up in a certain garden back in 1996, the morning that a young Amelia Pond was waiting for him, and he sat down to tell her about all of her future adventures. And that is the end of that particular story. Even though due to timing or whatever, there was a mini-sode that came right after this episode. It was actually two of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, four. It was four total.
Well, I just off the top of my head, I remember the two. So they did one that they did not film. Right. So we got to see, like, in his kind of the storyboards where the doctor went back and was that the one where he told Brian?
Yeah, and he was, no, you're talking about the storyboards is when Rory and Amy's son Go back to me.
Yes,
Go back to me.
yes, yes.
And
Their son, like I think his name was Andrew or something, or
yeah.
Anthony. Anthony. He was an old man. He showed up to Brian about a week after they were gone, after the whole thing happened, and gave him a letter, and it was narrated by Rory,
Mhm.
um, telling him that that they weren't coming back, because that was one of the last things that Brian asked the doctor,
Right.
was to bring them back safely, just bring them back safe. And he told him, yeah, we went on a venture, and unfortunately, we're not gonna make it back. And he just told him how everything was going, that everything was great,
Yeah.
but in 1946 or something like that, they decided to adopt,
Yeah.
which that was one of those things that we had talked about earlier, about after Amy's time on Demon Run. Like, why didn't they adopt? They
Right.
did. And the man standing before Brian, who's actually older than Brian at this point, is actually his grandson.
Yeah.
Um, which that was, I'm not saying that, that the pollen count in the room was high or any of that. And I'm not saying that someone was behind me cutting onions. I'm not saying that at all. My eyes did not sweat. It could be assumed, but that's not what happened at all. Uh, so the thing about this was, what I did love about this particular episode was that, for us watching it, for you and I and the people that watched, I guess, along with us in the Discord, another
Mhm.
shameless plug for the Discord, it's in the description. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I had no idea. Like, I did not see that coming. And it was one of those things. Rory's died so many times. I was like,
Well, yeah.
okay, he'll be back next episode. Cool.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? We'll figure it out. No, this was permanent. And what was explained to us after I started doing a little bit of research after the show was that Karen Gillan, the actress who plays Amy, she had requested to leave the show. She wanted to go out on a high. She didn't want, she like she's been playing this for a few years now. There were some other things that she wanted to do, so she wanted to go out on a high. And so this was the agreement between her and Stephen Moffat. So, and when he was in New York City doing something, this is when he decided to write this story. He felt a lot of pressure because he wanted to write them out on a high. After she decided to leave, Arthur Darville, who plays Roy, he decided to go as well, because he didn't feel like his story couldn't carry on without Amy. It didn't make sense, which that actually makes sense.
I don't know.
He said
I think two fellas in a TARDIS having adventures. I don't know. I think it could have worked. At least closed out the season. I could see like continuing just forever, but to close out like the last, was it like 10 episodes or whatever? I could see that working.
I don't know. I think we would have had this thing where we were stuck like Rory depression. Like, it just, I don't know. The way that Rory rode for Amy. If Amy was gone, she got touched by the angels. Kind of the same thing. Like, the beauty of it was Rory went first.
Yeah.
Amy, we didn't necessarily see it at first. Like, when she got stuck in the other time, in the one particular episode, and she was by herself for 36, 37 years, like she was ready to fold. And, we give Rory a whole lot of credit. He 2,000 years
2000. Yeah.
as a centurion, dragging the box, saving her.
Yeah. Yeah, they were definitely both built differently when it comes to how long I can ride or die for you.
However, that was her getting trapped somewhere. A lot of the times when Rory has died in episodes, Amy was beside herself. It wasn't like Amy wasn't easily, I'm just gonna go on and hope I'll get over it in time. No, she really contemplated what was her purpose without that man. And here, he was ready to jump off the roof, maybe kill himself permanently, And she's like, you're not doing that without me. You know what I'm saying? We're in this together. We'll damn near hold hands and go off of here. And I don't condone anyone. Not that I don't condone, but I don't wish that for anyone to unalive themselves. And understand in this paradox, they had to do what they had to do. But she chose to go with him. Right here, when he got touched by the angel, she's like, I got to risk it. I have to be with him. Wherever he is, that's where I got to be. And she chose to go. That's about as ride or die as they get.
I hear you. Like, oh, bye. I hear you. But for me, Amy's always been playing catch up. Because he was down. There was never a doubt in his mind, ever from the word go. We started the series when we got introduced to her with her having doubt, she stared at that wedding dress for like episodes on end. She flirted with the doctor. She flirted with Van Gogh. Wasn't all in for quite some time. Like he put in 2,000 years watching. So when everything is all said and done, they'll be like, well, they're both even. No, I wasn't even. No. Well, I know that may not be a popular opinion, but that's how I feel. I feel like she finally caught up to his level of commitment. Rory was committed completely. Amy had to learn how to be committed, which made the story more interesting. I applaud the choice of why the writers went that direction. It makes it far more interesting. If you have both people write it out from the very beginning, that's not really fun to watch. But if you do have one that does have doubts, and as they grow together, you can see them become more one. That's far more fun to watch.
And on that point, I absolutely agree. Rory had been head over heels about Amy since they was little kids. Like, when she was first, he was the only one that saw her when she was talking about the raggedy doctor, the raggedy man. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, everybody else think you crazy as hell, but I'm with you, girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, you my friend. The thing is, at the end of the day, and you're right that she eventually caught up.
Yeah.
But to me, that's all that matters, is that she did catch up. At the end of the day, she was as ride or die, and she was willing to put her life on the line to be with him wherever he was, because she couldn't be without him.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that we got to see, I guess, that evolution. Because, in real life, if ever that was, like, they were tested. Hell, he signed divorce papers. They were getting divorced because they weren't willing to have an uncomfortable conversation about what happened to her after Demon's Run. And, where even the doctor had to force them together to make them have the uncomfortable conversation and make them have the argument. I think it was Asylum of the Daleks, where they had to get together and talk. I love you more than me. What? No, you don't. Like, and they had to actually have that conversation about who loved who more, where she said, no, I know that you wanted kids. I can't provide kids for you. So where she internalized that and went to, feeling even worse about herself because she couldn't be the complete woman that Rory needed her to be. He's like, that don't even matter to me. Like, yeah, I wanted kids. I've always wanted kids. However, there's nothing more that I want than you. And she didn't understand that. She saw her shortcomings as a woman as a slight to the relationship. And I thought that their entire arc as a couple was a beautiful thing to show on TV. Even though the story is about the doctor, listen, the Williams / the Ponds were everything these past 2.5 seasons. So I just...
Yeah, I did have a little bit of an issue with the episode because I have been dragged around on so much. Is he dead? Is he not? Is she dead? Is she not? That I didn't like the impact of the episode missed me if I'm gonna keep it a buck.
Absolutely.
So it totally missed me, and I was like, they'll be back next episode. I mean, I'm sure you see the when you watch the reaction, you'll kind of see that that's the kind of energy I'm giving off. Even the following episode, when we finally get reintroduced to who the new companion could be, I'm like, this is just a temporary thing. It's like you just a rebound, and honestly, she still feel like a rebound if I'm gonna keep it 100 again. So I didn't have the privilege of time. Whereas time in tabloids, because I am sure since Doctor Who is pretty much damn near a national treasure media-wise over there, I'm sure there was a big kerfuffle about people leaving the show. People kind of knew. I'm sure the rumor mill was going on. So when it happened, I can only imagine how big that impact. It must have been like tremendous. It must have been like a oh my god moment. But for us, I hear your phone on the table.
There you think.
Yeah. So for me, who didn't have any of that, and we just were watching it in real time, like episode after episode, there was no moment of reflection. It honestly didn't really impact me in a way for me to kind of like realize that this might be for real until we saw the short episodes, when we saw the storyboards. And then it was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't like we found this cool little loophole that says that we can go back and save these people. So even now I feel like I was robbed of a moment because of how it played out early in the beginning with, I don't know how many times Rory's died, so I do feel a little cheated in that. And that's unfortunate for me. I'm glad that it impacted you the way it should have. I just didn't have it because I didn't believe it.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things too, is like, because, as reactors, we pride ourselves on having as little information going into things as possible, so that we can give a valid reaction to it. And I think the problem with this was, because we watched it so far out of time, was that at the beginning of this particular season, it was publicized that they were leaving the show.
Yeah.
That was already, so the people going into it knew that they were leaving. Yeah. They just didn't know the how. They didn't know the when, and they didn't know the how.
Yeah.
And so everyone who was watching, they knew, if you're watching in real time, when they watched, they knew they saw Rory die, Amy die, but not die. They, died Angel's way. So they go back to the past. So they're dead in the current timeline or what have you. Yeah. Everyone else knew that was permanent. Yeah. And then the mini-sodes, and I think the one, even the PS wasn't, the internet is in a completely different place now. That was supposed to be like a DVD extra that they put on the DVD. So, we have the beauty to go in and watch those mini-sodes and then do the research and find out what played out in the, in the press and stuff. And when I did look into it after this episode went off, and I was like, oh, damn, it's a wrap. But everyone else already knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So, their tears were, they're like, oh, I can't believe this is how it happened. But I'm glad it was the angels. I'm glad that, even though they're gone, they're not gone. They went on and lived their life together or whatever, happy, fruitfully, somewhere else, some other point in time or whatever. So
yeah. There was here's something that was a big truth for me, and this came from Jennifer Morris, who said that no one was looking at the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, I was more shocked at the Statue of Liberty than I was at the death of the Ponds. If I'm keeping it 100, that to me was awesome. The biggest statue that's in the U.S. I don't know if it's the biggest one in New York, right? Well, at least I can say that. And then for that to be an angel, awesome. Talk about setting the tone. Way to shake it up. We're on location. You got the Statue of Liberty booming down the street. I thought that was going to be the big thing, the big idea of the episode, not the departure of the Ponds.
So looking into this again after the episode, after we watched it, after it went off, looking into this, I found out that ever since they did Blink, when they did Blink, all the people that wrote into Stephen Moffat about that particular episode and talking about the angels, wrote about the little cherubs, the little baby angels, that they should be, those little baby statues, that they should be angels as well. And he said that one of the biggest things that people wrote in about was that the Statue of Liberty could be an angel. And he said, that came out of people writing to him. That was a fan reaction thing, and he said that's why he put it in this particular episode.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to give you a heads up, man, because I know typically we go about 30 minutes and then we start bringing in a couple other folks.
And actually, I don't. I was actually looking at time myself, so I actually have one quote. But then instead of, I just want us to talk about this or talking about those heartfelt farewells.
Yeah.
My only quote is from John Paul Richter, who says, "Never part without loving words to think of during your absence. It may be that you will not meet again." And that has been a part of my mantra for as long as I can remember. Like, I was one of those people that, when I was married, I refused. I just I didn't believe that you should go to bed mad at the other person. Like, you can't go to bed mad. Like, whatever it is, we got to fix it. So we wake up in the right place. Hell, you might not even wake up. So I just, but then, his relationship hit one of those points where that wasn't as important to the other person. And, you missed the red flags. Like, I knew, we was on the way out.
Yeah.
So, all right. At this point, we have some wonderful people waiting to jump in this discussion with us. We have Frank and our local alien, Sophie.
Hey, the double doozies. Love y'all too. Thank y'all for stopping in here.
Okay.
Oh, this is the deep dive? Oh, sorry. I was on my way somewhere else. Oops.
Don't make me find you.
Not even 1 second in.
I thought for sure this was the football game on TV.
How about that, bar?
How you doing, little lady?
Boy, I swear, she is something else.
I hope y'all had a great holiday. I don't know. I know not everybody celebrates Thanksgiving, so I'll just say holiday.
Well, Frank's Canadian. So.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said that.
I still celebrate with you all by looking at your food.
All right. So, Frank and Sophie, I'm assuming that this was not your first time watching these particular episodes. Do you guys have any particular insights, or even maybe some stuff that we missed about this particular episode?
A rare moment where I agree with Sintel, though not quite exactly for the same reason. But don't worry, he then immediately said something that I wholeheartedly disagree with.
All right. Let me make sure I keep my
stay consistent.
Going. I gotta keep my streak going.
But I do agree that their farewell had like no real impact to me, and it's not just because they both died before. It's the fact that they're still living a good life in the past. Like they gave up their adventures with the doctor, but they unlocked a happy life with their child, and they were able to move forward as a family unit. They left some things behind, but it wasn't a death. Yeah, people often treat it as a death, but it was not a death.
Right. That I agree with, but just looking at what had happened to the companions from before, I mean, Rose didn't die. She was trapped in another dimension or another universe or whatever. She didn't die. She just wasn't here with the doctor anymore. Martha said,
she got a boy.
Yeah, she got her little fake doctor. She got part-time doctor, whatever. So, Martha said, "Yeah, I'm gonna piece y'all out for this get too crazy." Donna had all the timey-wimey stuff happen to her, and so she had to go on living, but with no memory of anything that happened. So this is on par with what happened to his other companions, at least in this version of New Who. So, and I don't know, that's interesting. Has any of the companions actually died with him? I don't know. That's like
Spoilers.
A classic thing.
Ooh,
Yeah,
if it's future stuff,
Who.
Don't say nothing. Yeah, okay, classic. Okay, classic. Okay,
Classic
thank
Who.
you. Okay.
So classic's okay?
Yes, classic's okay.
That's okay.
Wait,
it's okay to be a
you
little
do want to
teeny bit.
know?
He has lost somebody in classic.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
He killed somebody in classic.
No.
Don't say,
Well,
don't say the name. Don't say
actually,
the name though. Don't say the name.
No, lost.
I mean, to Rakai's question, there is a whole thing called the Trial of the Time Lord. But yes, he has lost some companions to death on screen, and technically Jack did die. He came back, but he did technically die.
True. I mean, yeah, Jack died and he came back as the face of Bo. So, okay.
Okay.
Well, that's
Yeah.
interesting, and I wonder how that was dealt with in real time, and then as people watch the classic episode later on to that actually a companion was killed, I guess, at the hands of or because of the doctor in some way. So
Do
it's
you,
interesting.
Rakai, do you feel it would have been more impactful if they had died? I'm sorry, Alien. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I actually I don't know because I'm not sure if I was going for impactful. You know what I'm saying? I know that through these seasons, I mean, hell, we're 7.5 seasons in.
Mhm.
He loses companions. They come and they go. You know what I'm saying? We had Wilf. You know, we've had, other companions. Even for a short moment, we've had some other people, take a trip on the TARDIS with him. So it's understandable. And even unfortunately having that advanced knowledge, knowing that this is also the swan song for Matt Smith at the end of the season, I just didn't expect it to happen. This episode 5. Like, we got like 13, 14 episodes. What the hell? Like, it's happened in the middle? Where they do that at? So that's what threw me off. If they really died, I think this kind of symbolic death that the angels represent, it worked for me.
Okay. Go ahead, Sylvia. You were about to say something before I.
Well, on that point, it doesn't have to be a death. It's more of the way it was treated. It was treated like a death. But as someone in the comments pointed out, it was instead a choice where, yeah, they could have met the doctor in a different year. They could have traveled outside of New York and met up with him. They chose to say once and for all, okay, we're going to leave this behind and we're going to start a new life. That was a decision that they made because they could have found loopholes around it, but they chose to stay. That's not a bad ending for me. That's a happy ending where they got to find their peace.
Well, and I think to that point, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. And I think I like that for them. They have been through a lot. Like, all his companions have been through a lot. They have been a lot, especially that damn Rory. Bless his heart. He died every 17 minutes. Like, he was popping dead. He spent life plastic. He was a damn, that dude had it rough. All for this damn woman. He probably been happy if he left Amy's ass alone. But he was into Amy, so it is what it is. I read also, I guess after, that Karen Gillan decided that she was not going to pop back in, after Rose, Rose popped back in a couple seasons ago or whatever. She said, nah, she wasn't coming back to film anything Doctor Who. She said because it would have, what Sophie was just saying, it would have taken away from the impact of this moment. So even if it was treated as a death or whatever, she said it should be treated as this is the last that you will see of the Williams/Ponds. And that, I respect that.
See, and a perfect example, segue for that is I respect that decision because now it has impact. Whereas Marvel went a whole totally different way by bringing back Robert Downey Jr. and arguably one of the greatest death scenes and definitely in the MCU. Now, depending on how they do it, right now it has that impact has been tainted. It's like, where you going bringing Robert Downey Jr. back? Even have his face. I don't care if it's a clone. I don't care if it's another dimensional being. To even have his face back into space, it takes away from that. So I respect, that the actress for saying like, nah, I'm good. Let's let this be what it is, because for us, it makes it really final.
I think that's one of those things that that goes to the love that people have for the property itself. Like, even though Doctor Who is beloved, um, Doctor Who does put a little bit more artistry into like than what Marvel's doing. Marvel's about the money.
Yeah.
Money. Let's get the little bell at the bank account. Let's get that ringing, keep it ringing. You know, they're talking about, for one, why would they drop the what's her name? Black Widow. They dropped the Black Widow movie like 3 years past when it should have came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I even hear that maybe Scarlett Johansson might be coming back. I hear that Chris Evans may be coming back. Like,
Yeah.
is nothing sacred? Like, I don't understand it. And it's kind of almost where we're on that hill. And maybe it's just people have that kind of disdain for Disney products, because at the same point, we tried to do other stuff in the Star Wars universe. Nobody wants to see that. Bring back the farm boy. We want more Luke. We want more Luke Skywalker. For whatever reason, we want that. We want the Skywalker saga. And I personally, as much as I love the Skywalker saga, I am sick of the saga. There is a gigantic universe out there. Tell me some other stories.
Yeah.
I like the Mandalorian. Tell me some other stuff. Tell me anything.
Well, let me ask you regarding like the segue with Clara, and how are you feeling about her? Because for me, real quick, I'll give my little quick 2 points. She still feels like a rebound to me. Don't get me wrong, she's nice on the eyes, like she's a very beautiful and attractive woman, but I want to feel something beyond the superficial, and I haven't felt that just yet. But I know time for me will have me feeling a little bit differently about her. But for right now, she still feels like a rebound. I'm curious, how's it feel for you?
I don't know. I like Clara, and it's one of those things that in perfect Doctor Who tradition, where they kind of throw the new companion into an episode somewhere before they actually become the companion. So we saw her the first episode of this season in Asylum of the Daleks. But I thought it was crazy how, and what people have seen yet, and I guess that'll be coming out next week, where they will see the Christmas episode, the Snowman, which is something else altogether. How we saw the new companion and how we get her now, I don't really think of her as a rebound.
Okay.
I don't know, because we got season with Martha, and Martha was clearly a rebound after the Doctor could not get over Rose.
Yeah. No, you're spot on that. She was clearly a rebound. Absolutely.
Even to the point where she had this love for this man who had, swept her off her feet, and he was not feeling that whatsoever. Even fell in love with another woman while he was human in the season, and had made her watch it. Like, that's diabolical. But I don't know. I never saw Martha as a rebound. So I think along those same lines, I don't see the new companion as a rebound, just because, Amy and Melody said, hey, you cannot travel alone. We saw several times where he was traveling alone or spent an extended amount of time away from Amy and Rory. He's out here wilding, just doing stuff. Like, no, you need to travel with human people to keep some sense about you. And even though some of the choices, some of the things that the new companion says kind of irk me a little bit. For one, I cannot lie, she does hit my eye candy meter. She's high up, or like, oh.
Yeah, I mean,
nice. She's nice to look at.
She's soft on the eyes. Yeah,
kudos to the casting department. You have done it again.
But we've had such meaty, just fulfilling companions.
And she's not there yet.
It needs to be more than that, right? Yeah, I feel that.
She's not there yet. As a matter of fact, some of the stuff is almost like, because he has been in a hurry, in a rush to take on a new companion, he hasn't downloaded her with all the information that is necessary for her to know. Like, there's a lot of stuff that she needs to know about being on this ride with me. And I think part of it's because this entire time he's been on his own investigation to who the hell she was. And so I don't know. Like there's a lot of things that kind of irk me a little bit so far, but
Let
hopefully
me
that'll
pause
get
you.
better.
Let me pause you just for a moment and just to warn you, don't look at the chat just yet because our chat mod has told us that there's some spoilery stuff in there, so I don't want it to ruin our experience. Just to give you a heads up.
Yes, and
Sophie.
for everyone here, I know that they kind of prompted by asking about Classic Who and the deaths and stuff like that. Please try to move on from that conversation. There's a lot that they haven't seen, no specific names, not even, oh, so I guess they don't know about this or that yet, or have they seen this yet? If you're not sure of what they've seen or what they know, please just avoid mentioning it in the comments because they can and do read these comments.
Thank you. For the time being, Alien, would you post? You know how to post some of the interesting comments on the screen. You know how to do that?
Yes.
Would you do that for me just temporarily? If you see
Yeah.
something, that moves you,
Yeah,
that way I can
we can
avoid
stay out of the chat.
Stay out of the chat. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. What was we about to say next?
I will say before we jumped out of the chat, because I mean I wasn't paying attention to that, but I did have it up to the side. I'm trying to stay focused. I did when I asked about that death. Someone in the chat posted. They did ask, what about Astrid? And one of my favorite Christmas specials of all time, Voyage of the Damned, where Astrid was Kylie Minogue, one of the most popular episodes in the history of Doctor Who. She doesn't count to me because she didn't actually make it to actually be a companion. She never even made it onto the TARDIS. She wanted to.
Yeah.
She was on her way. She was trying to go, but never made it. You know what I'm saying? Like, where it seemed like she would have been a great companion. She didn't even make it, and it was, I was like, oh, it's okay. Too bad.
Let me ask you, Frank, real quick. How did you you two, Alien, as well? How do you feel initially about Clara now that she's in the mix? What are your first thoughts?
Her initial, like for what you've seen so far, like I really like those episodes with her, and my first time watching, I was really invested and interested up to where you were right now.
Okay.
So again, I'm gonna put out no spoilers for anything they have not seen yet. That includes just vaguely mentioning characters that are or are not present in future seasons. Regarding Clara, we met her the first time at the beginning of Series 7, and then we met her again in The Snowman. It's pretty universal that The Snowman is like the best version of her because she was sassy, independent, etc. And then we get this version of Clara, who's the girl next door. She's very calm, sweet. She's a nanny. A lot of people, because she pales in comparison to like the fieriness of Amy, a lot of people felt she didn't have a personality. And there were a lot of people complaining about that when she first hit the screen, and they really didn't like her. They didn't care about her. However, I do see a lot of personality with her. It's not the in-your-face kind, but she is the girl next door, which makes sense for the Doctor to have this person bringing out that softer side of him, like we saw in The Rings of Agaton, where he was very gentle and sweet and showing her around this little mall area on a different planet. And when we first see him, he's, like, can I come inside? Oh, can I, look at your storybook? And oh, this is so sweet. This is a side that we only got with young Amy. And then we spent all that time with adult Amy and River, who were challenging the Doctor, being like the Doctor's equal. Now we see a different side of Matt Smith's Doctor because we have someone else bringing out that part of his personality that we never got to see with adult Amy.
Okay.
I absolutely love that perspective. And I think that's you, because I don't know, I still see some little that feistiness like you said, the version of her and the snowman, and then we've got direct callbacks to things that she said in the Asylum of the Daleks episode.
Mhm.
So I still kind of see it, but that perspective, Sophie is spot on. I like that, and it's a way to keep the Doctor growing. Yeah, it's Amy challenged the Doctor all the time just because she didn't understand, and then the dynamic of having her and Rory
Right.
together was a completely different dynamic. Uh, Donna, maybe one of the reasons why she is beloved is because she challenged the Doctor with and on some of those parts of his soft side because she didn't understand like what he had to do and what he was going through. So she wasn't that way. Like she broke down a lot at some of the hard decisions that the Doctor had to make. Um, but the fact that she wasn't into the Doctor like that was also really good. I don't know. I like Clara so far, but she hasn't got there for me. I like Rose. It took Rose a really long time to grow on me because she irked the hell out of me because she was young and she made very young people dumbass decisions a lot.
Yes.
And then kept doing it. I was like,
Yeah.
did you not learn from the last time? Like, Jesus, like, God.
And keep on touching
and
that
that
hot
was,
stove, aren't you?
yeah. And then, yeah. And then, like, well, she did it all the ninth Doctor. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, maybe the 10th Doctor, maybe she has learned. No,
Mm.
no, we just gonna make all new dumbass mistakes. Oh my God. But I had to like, okay, she's 19, she's 20. That's when you make a lot of dumbass mistakes, So I was like, okay, but she took time for me. Martha was older, she was focused, she was ambitious. Uh, Donna was older, she would do some dumb stuff, but Donna was really, really smart. She is, part investigator. She called herself investigator.
Mm.
So when we get to Amy, we get to another young companion, but also one that he had met when she's 9, 10 years old or whatever, 8 years old. So it was a different thing with Amy. And the only thing I think really that kept her from doing a lot of dumb shit was Rory.
Mm. Okay.
So I don't know. Clara's a whole new dynamic. She hasn't made it there as a beloved companion to me yet, but
Mhm.
you know,
Well, it's also good to have that calm down after Amy,
yeah,
the constant deaths, all the big plot lines, Big Bang 2, etc. We have all of that, Angels Take Manhattan, and then we calm down with just, there's this girl who's a nanny. She has some Wi-Fi people going after her, but otherwise it's a cute little story. It's kind of a transitional period in between really big, huge arc where things are constantly happening. Okay, now let's calm down from that.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
agree with that.
Let me ask you all about the tone shift. So I feel like with the leaving of Rory and Amy, there was also a leaving of style. The the TARDIS looks different. Some
Hmm.
of the color palettes look a little bit different as well. There's another. It seemed like there was another change outside of just the changing of the actors. Are you cool with that, or is it not playing well for you, for everybody? The question of all three of y'all.
So here's the thing. The biggest reason why Amy and Rory leaving I didn't care much about is because I was waiting for it to happen. I wanted a different shift. So if we look at, let's say, David Tennant, he had a new companion every season. And we got to see those different aspects of the Doctor. With each different companion, we saw a different side of him.
Hmm.
From the beginning of Series 5 up until halfway in Series 7, it was Amy, Rory, and River. For a very long time, we had the same crew. So by the time Angels came around, I was hoping either for new companions or new Doctor. And I was like, okay, bet. We have a new companion now. Good. Um, so I was kind of all for it. So that change of tone, that change of companion, all of that was welcomed because it just felt like we were getting too much of the same thing.
Mm.
And especially with that time jump, uh, Series 7 was just kind of weird with its time jump because it skipped like 10 years where the Doctor was with Amy and Rory off
Yeah,
screen. And it was just kind of becoming a little weird how long he was with them,
Mm.
but so much was happening off screen.
I don't mind that take at all. And you're right. One of the things that I guess really that made the 10th Doctor really something special too. A lot of people forget, because I mean, David Tennant as an actor is amazing. He's a great actor, but also he did have three separate companions for his 3 year span. Like he brought over Rose from the Ninth Doctor, but then he had a 1 year with Martha. He had a year with Donna. We got to see three completely different sides and a real growth in the Doctor with him. To to Sophie's point, she is right. The, David Tennant as a doctor wasn't around that long in the lifespan of a doctor. It was like 6 years or something like that with those three.
Mm-hmm.
It's been super long with Matt Smith just because in between episodes, Amy and Rory even got to be like, we haven't seen you in 10 months. We haven't seen you in 6 months. Like it's been like, how much time has gone past? On top of the fact that when he first met her, off top, she was like 8. So, it's been damn near 20 years since he's been in her life. It's
Mm.
been a lot. And I don't mind the look of the TARDIS, the look of the TARDIS, the intro. Just like when they went to that one, was it maybe season 6? Where they did the intro every day, every time with Amy's
Yeah.
voice. Oh
Yeah, that was
my!
awful. That was awful. That was awful.
Oh,
I felt like the
I was
intro
like,
to Avatar: The Last Airbender with that type of recap. It was like, oh, they're doing too much.
yeah, and it's just one of those things. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
this. And it's like, hey, we have some American viewers. Let's do some American shit just for them. Like, oh, take that on. Oh no.
Yeah, that's not why
I
we're
do
here.
not need this recap no, take that.
No.
So to Sophie's point, I like seeing the different look of the TARDIS. It changed from David Tennant. It changed when we got from the 10th Doctor to the 11th Doctor. I like the change. So here I like the change. I like the tonal shift because it evokes a further growth in the Doctor. For whatever reason, now we're seeing with him deal with a different type of tragedy. We had to endure him dealing with Rose, him dealing with Martha choosing to leave him instead of the other way around. Because it seems like he was always to be the one to quit his companions. When we met Sarah Jane, she was still kind of lightweight salty. She's like, I wrote you and I called and you didn't pick up, so she still felt kind of like she wanted to be with him, and he was like, yeah, our time is done. I'm moving on. So for someone to quit him, be like, yeah, I'm done fooling with you. Wait, hold on. You don't do the breaking up. I do the breaking up. So, and then to be with Donna as a companion, somebody who didn't even want him, is like, I want the adventure. I don't want your ass. You not my type, my dude. He's like, oh, where they do that at? You don't see all of this? Look at me. I'm sexy. She's like, yeah, time out on that. I don't, let's just do this adventure thing. That was great. So to see what we got with Amy, and to your point, Centel, you said earlier, like, she was a little confused. It is almost on some other type stuff where he met her as a little child and then came back. She's 19. She's legal now. So then she throws herself at him. I've been dreaming about you, Raggedy Man, for 10 years. Like, pause.
Yeah.
Back off, Drake. So, it's just, I didn't know that I was ready for something different until they presented to us. And I was ready for a tonal shift, and it just, they made it. I'm happy for it, so I'm good with it.
There's one more. Oh, Frank, did you have anything to add to that real quick?
I was gonna say that I do like the tonal change, and the atmosphere of the TARDIS is interesting. I really love the circular part above the middle. That was pretty cool. Uh,
Hmm.
and I feel it ties in with the journey that we've seen so far, with like what he's lost before caused him to get to that point where in the you saw in the Snowman, he had been retired as the Doctor for a while. He basically lost his drive until he met the Mystery of Clara, where he got that spark back. But it all those losses with the Ponds, Donna before that, Martha before that, Rose before that, like I feel like
Even
he's
River.
just in a place where he's just changed himself, and he chose an atmosphere to reflect that.
Nice. Okay.
But there's a. I was going to talk about the TARDIS real quick and how, even though the TARDIS has kind of been a quiet character, we're into episodes now where the TARDIS isn't so quiet. Should I save that as a question for a later deep dive?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
Maybe.
we're eventually gonna get to that episode
Yeah.
that you're gonna get roasted for that, so you guys can save that.
Okay.
Okay.
The most
I'm here
recent
for the
one you
roasting.
guys reacted to.
I am here for the roasting. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because I think, that's an interesting thing about how Clara and the TARDIS do not get along. That is wonderful. So has it been, and this is for any of you on a personal level, has it been hard to accept change and to make those goodbyes to a job, to people, to friends, to relationships, for you? Because that's what I looked at this particular episode as. The Doctor realized during the episode what was going to have to happen. And when he realized it was going to have to happen, like, you're forced to make a farewell that maybe you weren't prepared to do just yet. How has that kind of thing impacted you guys in real life?
Okay, I got a super quick one. I'm a military brat. I'm the child of somebody that was in the military. So bounced around, moved, was not a big thing. You kind of get used to it. So it's kind of set the tone for me at a very early age that change is just an inevitability. So when I see like changes in TV shows or even just in my life in general, it's kind of one of those things you kind of just roll with the punches. And for me, it's a little bit more refreshing because it's kind of like, okay, we get to shake things up, and then we see how we adjust and move. I like seeing myself move and things that are shaken up, and I like seeing characters that I see on television kind of like do the same thing. Being stagnant with one thing, I think that's another thing that's kind of a cool draw of the Doctor in itself, is that you're going to get a refresh. You're gonna get a refresh of either the Doctor, you're gonna get a refresh of some of the companions, and you can still travel this same journey, but you look at it with a different set of eyes, and I think that's dope.
Okay, thank you for that. Frank or Sophie?
Yeah, I guess I have a complex mindset with that stuff because for the first like almost 30 years of my life, I was so used to not being the one to make the choice to let go of a relationship I had. Uh, Speaking generally, of course, like so friendships. As a lot of people gave up on me due to my autistic behaviors of the past, and I never had any friendships last more than maybe a few years up until my late 20s. Like my oldest relationship now of any kind is about 10 years old. But all of that loss I've kept feeling, it sort of built a certain resilience, I guess, where now if I see something is toxic for me, I don't care how much love I have for that person, I drop them right then and there.
Ooh. Okay, I feel that.
It'll hurt me, but I know it's for the best, and I'd rather be in a healthy place than latch on to something that I used to love.
Yeah. Okay.
Know thyself. Okay.
Uh, Sophie, because I mean I can talk. So Sophie.
Uh, I'm pretty adaptable. I I don't know this. If there's ever been a change that really took a long time to adjust to, it's because it was just not a good change, like moving somewhere or being stuck in a situation that was bad. Um, uh, like people have died around me, but they're not people that really had an impact on my individual life. Um, I mean, just from a young age, I've just been very adaptive. For instance, my parents divorced when I was like 5 or 6, and I was like, okay. They're like, oh, you're gonna live with your mom. Okay. Like, I was just like, okay. They like try to sit me down and explain to me, it's not your fault, and I just looked at them like, well, duh, I'm a child. Literally, what do you, what is this? Of course, it's not my fault. I'm a child. What are you talking about? I was like, can I leave now? Like, why are you wasting my time here? Um, yeah, I've always been pretty adaptable.
Somehow that does not surprise me.
Yeah, I was like, hello, I'm 6. Literally, how can my parents' relationship be my fault?
I
Look,
was on the
look,
opposite end where my dad leaving my mom I thought was my fault, and
Hmm.
with
Yeah,
all the
that's
lost
common.
friendships I had growing up into my early adult years, just reinforced that I was a person to get away from. So I
Hmm.
used to blame myself.
See, that's the normal response.
Hmm.
That's what children are supposed to feel. I looked at these adults and I'm like, bruh, I'm 6. Literally, none of this can possibly be my fault. Like, I was very aware of my role as a child.
wow. See, for me, I am a also a military brat myself, and my dad was an officer in the Air Force. So we've lived all over the world, and we moved every year, every other year. And for my young adolescent life, I change was common. I got used to even when we moved to a new place. I mean, I'd make friends. I didn't have a problem making friends, but I never put any real stock in those people because I was like, "Psh, this time next year I won't even know you. I'll be someplace new." So I didn't care. Um, I didn't put any real effort or stock into being anywhere or being friends with any, but like, hey, we're blood brothers and we're gonna be friends forever. No, boy, stop. No, I will be moved next year. Like, okay, you believe that you want to, and I know and maybe that was the part that where I wasn't normal. It affected my brother in a way because he'd be like, damn, we're moving again. And these were my friends, and I just made these friends. And I'd be like, whatever, I did not care. And it wasn't until my parents got divorced, which again, I guess I'm a little bit more like Sophie. I knew that wasn't my fault. Shit, that's y'all the ones in that relationship. Y'all wilding. Uh, But once my parents got divorced, we lived in Germany when my parents went through the divorce. So my dad stayed in Germany, and my mom, her family is from Lexington, Kentucky. So we came to Lexington, Kentucky, and that was the first time in my life where kind of like the doctor and his companions, like, wait a minute, we not switching, we not going nowhere. Oh shit, I gotta keep these people. I wasn't used to that. And I was like, so somebody be like, "Oh, this is my friend." I'd be like, hell, they might be my friend more than just this year. I might actually have to put some effort into this relationship.
Mm.
Ooh, I mean, but it played into how I conducted all of my relationships at that point, whether they were romantic, situational, friendships with family. Like I used to be the person, with family, we only come around once a year, once every other year, and everybody's so glad to see us. Oh, you guys live in California, you live in Ohio, you live in Germany. It's like, hey, it's your distant cousins. Nice to see you. But then once I was there and they'd be like, see you next weekend, I'm like, I won't see your ass next weekend. Oh my God, now I gotta like these people. Oh Jesus. So it was a new thing for me. Now I absolutely love my family. Um, but it was also that was something that I had to work through. And so like in my personal relationships, like when me and my wife got divorced, I had been where I had transitioned into a person who would put stock into these relationships and all this. Once that was over with, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was not the same carefree, I don't even give a damn person I was as a teenager. Now I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? Like my everything was built into this. And now I gotta go it alone again. And that it took a long time. And of course, y'all always hear me talk about therapy. A lot of it, which I'm still in, to keep going to make it through. And now I had kids, that are going through with me. It was rough, so. It's amazing how like I'm standing here as I'm saying all that. My oldest son is like hovering over me right now, right here. Like I know he's
I was wondering what you were looking up at.
yeah, no, my oldest son, I'm sitting in a chair and he's standing up over me, like, it's almost like he's waiting on his name to be said. Like, yeah, you gonna talk about me.
How old is he?
He will be 17 in February.
Hey, in
Yeah.
another year, he can join the adult podcast with you. He can be right there calling out all your BS.
Listen, well, I don't know if it's BS. I like to say I speaks the truth. He calls me out and says him and his sister, they rough on their father. Like they all this right here, that is all attributed to these little people.
Considering your age, not bad. Honestly, Centel has more than you.
Oh yeah, I'm all the way grayed out. If I was to like let it all grow out, oh man, I look like old man winter. But I embrace it. I'm not running from it. I'm leaning in. Gray me out. Shoot, I'm walking around like Grand off the Gray. Carry a staff. You shall not pass. That's it.
All right. So at this point, I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, and for this deep dive, I wanted us to focus more, which we rarely do. I want us to focus more on the particular episode and the circumstances that came out of this episode, instead of me going off into another tangent on something I pulled out of the episode. So I thank the three of you for that. I want to go into any final remarks before we give this thing a heartfelt goodbye, and I'll let you guys get back to spending all your money on Black Friday deals.
Yeah, I gotta go find that football game I was looking for when I stumbled upon this.
I already spent all my money on Black Friday.
Well, Colorado was doing a good job of whooping up on Oklahoma State, so you can get back to that.
I still gotta buy a hard drive, so I'll be Black Friday.
Oh,
up. Yeah.
I do have to get a hard drive. Thank you. I needed that.
Let me see. I guess my final quick comment. This mid-season interruption was unexpected. I'll say it was unexpected. I do feel bad that I didn't get the impact that maybe Rakai have gotten from this episode, and for people that saw it in real time. So it feels like a cheated moment, but I'm still willing and able to give Clara her time. And let's see if she can move me. I'm still excited about the series as a whole in general. I do like the new look. I do like the way the TARDIS feels. I like the pacing. I like it's still, it's still just good fun. We've seen a few episodes where it may not even necessarily feel like it's on the main storyline or the main through line, but it's still good fun. And I think as long as who keeps doing that, we're gonna be just fine. Just fine.
Okay. Sophie?
I guess in terms of final thoughts on Doctor Who up until this point of Angels in Manhattan, this Series 7 Part 1, or Series 7A as it's sometimes referred to, is
Mhm.
definitely a low point for me. A lot of those episodes I'm not fond of. The
Mhm.
way that the direction they took with Amy and Rory's relationship, uh, again, it just started to drag on and kind of felt like they were unsure of exactly what to do with these characters in the last few episodes until it got to a point where they could finally let them go. So Series 7B is very much refreshing in that regard. And we've talked about it in the Discord how if they had rewritten things to kind of make Series 7 uh, to make Angels in Manhattan the finale for Series 6 instead of the Wedding of River Song.
Mm.
If it ended, a season ended with the Ponds leaving, and then we started this season with Clara, then it would have helped with a lot of the weird pacing stuff going on. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, none of us have a time machine to force the writers to rearrange that.
Okay.
Yet.
Actually, he said yet.
Maybe you don't have a time machine.
What are
Okay.
your thoughts, Frank?
Uh, yeah, well, everything I've really been thinking about has been said. So I'll just say that I really enjoyed the quote from Angels in Manhattan, where Rory's contemplating jumping off to kind of break the paradox, and Amy was like, But if it doesn't work, you'll die." And then he's like, "When don't I?" That's one of my favorite lines of that episode.
Okay. Um, I I do like I agree with everything that you all said, and I'm not saying that I got the I guess the full impact. Like I wasn't blown away by their deaths, especially because to Sophie's point, it wasn't really a death. They got to go on and live a happy, wonderful life, in the past, and so that was okay. Um, I wasn't surprised by River choosing not to be a companion. I thought that was a pretty cool move on herself, and hopefully we'll see some more River. But I like how River kind of drops in and out every now and again.
Mhm.
So that is she's often refreshing, and she's a scene stealer. So um, even though she wasn't so much, she was kind of to the background because her parents had to take the foreground in this particular episode. So that was also new and different. Uh,
That's interesting because when I think of the Angels Take Manhattan, I
mhm.
do think of it as a River episode, and then secondarily, I think about the Ponds leaving.
No, I thought this was a very much a Rory and Amy episode because I don't know. To me, the focus was on them, and it really started off, where we saw River in the past or whatever. So we knew River was going to show up. But, when Rory disappeared and then even to the way it ended, Rory disappeared at the beginning, started the knees to chest. Everybody, we're running, we're on this thing. And then at the end, the heartfelt, why can't I say that word right? Heartfelt goodbye between Amy and the doctor. Because again, Rory's ass done disappeared. How many times he died in this episode? He died like 3 times. The Angels that got his ass like 3 times this episode. They got him at the beginning in the tunnel in New York City. They got him in the basement, and then they got him in the graveyard at the end. He died 3 times in this episode,
And he got himself.
and he
Yeah.
got himself 4. Like at this point, like listen, Evil Knievel, I'm done. Listen, yeah, woo.
To
I
BJ Lightning's comment here, she says that it was the end of Brian and we never saw the doctor go and explain what happened. I do believe that's what PS is meant to do.
yeah,
That's Rory sending a letter to his father after he's already passed saying, "This is your grandson, this is what happened. You'll never see us again, but you can have a relationship with your grandson."
Mm.
yeah, and they can tell you all about our lives and this and that, and but to PJ Lightning's point, I don't like that. I don't like, Brian told the doctor specifically, just bring my babies, bring my son and my daughter-in-law, bring them home safe. And he never went and said shit to Brian. That's a punk ass move. I don't like it. Like you got to no, you got to take accountability for that. You know what I'm saying? And even if it wasn't your fault, at the end of the day, we know it was your damn fault. You have to go and take some accountability for that. I know you asked me to bring him back. Like, for one, he owned up to it. The 10th Doctor had to face Jackie every damn time something happened to Rose.
Mm.
She know Rose, Jackie gonna beat that ass. He did not face up to Brian, and I don't like that. I don't. You know, um, even Martha's mama couldn't stand him off rip. Off top, she couldn't stand him because she just knew there was some element of danger surrounding him. And even to the point where now, hell, she's a damn maid working on the master's spaceship type shit. Like, you know, and he still kind of faced Martha's family. He went and talked to, Wilf. He talked to, what I'm saying, Donna's granddaddy. He did not face Brian. He did not go say nothing to Brian. I don't like it.
And that's
Rory
probably
had to write him a letter. I
Mm.
don't like that shit.
Mm.
and that's probably why Rory did it, because he knew the doctor wouldn't even think to go tell Brian what happened.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't like that. At any rate, we have had a wonderful trek through these past couple 2.5 seasons with the Williams, with the Ponds.
Mhm.
And that is now a bitter and heartfelt, I got it, farewell to their characters in the Who universe.
Mm.
I do want to thank you, Frank, and I do want to thank you, Sophie, for again showing up for these live deep dives. Um, I would say that we can't do it without you. We could, but I prefer not to. No, we could. Like even like real talk. Like even it was a couple minutes before, and usually Centel knows I am usually the one who comes traipsing in at the last moment. I come, I'm always the last bell to the ball. So I come in the last moment. I'm here. I slide in the door. Today it was his turn to do that to me, and I'm on damn near in panic mode. I was like, "Do I have to go this alone? Oh, I
Never
can
that.
do it." But yeah, so and he came in with like 60 seconds left. He's like, "All right, what's up, man?" I was like, "Whoo, hold on, shit! I gotta get me some coffee. I gotta get me a still drink." I was like, so it is one of those things. We could go on. I could have made it without Centel. I'm glad I didn't have to. And I'm glad that you two were also on the stage with us because both of you gave me some things to think about and some definitely some ways to look into this that I didn't look into before. And I'm always appreciative of that. As always, my spiel is please like, comment, share this, whether you came in through my channel, whether you came in through Centel's channel. If you are, and I can't believe that you would be new to me if you're in on Centel's channel, but if you are new, I wouldn't mind if you go over and hit the subscribe button. I got some stuff that's worth your time because that's what it's all about. That's why we watch Doctor Who, because it's all about time, and how you choose to spend your time is the most important thing that you can do. So if you decide to spend a little bit of that with me, I appreciate it. Uh, to me, it always has to be about this. But even if you're putting all of this into it, it definitely has to be about this.
Mm.
Thank y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.